There is a country in Northern Europe that's largely underwater. At least most of it is below sea level, something that might be happening to other countries in the near future. But it's always been that way in the Netherlands. And somehow they have made the most of that precarious situation, pumping water out with windmills for nearly the last 1,000 years, creating farmland and canals. Then expanding to a global superpower in the 17th century with a fleet of sailing ships and trading practices that made them one of the richest countries in the world. It was a relatively brief golden age, but even today, the Netherlands is one of the world's great countries, with a quality of life among the very best. They built thriving cities that have retained their historic character and are a delight to visit now. We're taking you to one of the best. I'm in Leiden, Holland, enjoying the pleasures of this beautiful town. It's another one of the great historic cities of the Netherlands. Most famous perhaps for the university. It's the oldest university in the Netherlands, founded back in the mid-16th century. And so there's a lot of university students here. And it's not as touristic, certainly not nearly as crowded as a place like Amsterdam, which is only about a half an hour away by train. So it's really a refreshing change to come and visit smaller cities like Leiden. This city has got the canals running through it, as most Dutch cities do. And here it's really quite special. The canals come right through the middle of the old town. There's half a dozen of these very peaceful waterways, especially nice in the morning. Busy in the afternoon with lots of people out walking around, shopping, eating and drinking. So many travelers come to Amsterdam and that's all they see. And that's the impression they get of Holland. It's the big city, kind of crowded and moving, very much hustle bustle. Of course, Amsterdam is a wonderful city to visit. It's certainly among Europe's top 10 places to go. So rewarding. A must for any visitor to the Netherlands. And we'll take you there in our series on this fine country in another segment. But this program, we are taking you all around in Leiden. You can easily get outside of Amsterdam by train, by bus, by tour, and within 15 minutes or half an hour, you're transported to several other small cities, such as Leiden. The cafe that I'm sitting at now is a good place to have morning breakfast or cappuccino. Later in the day, it fills up with people having a drink, having lunch, having dinner. It's a perfect spot. It's right next to the classic bridge across the canal that was the old grain bridge. It was a grain market, and they store the grain under the roofs of the arcade there. During the program, you will get a good look at most of the interesting parts of Leiden. I'll take you on a thorough walking tour. We'll go down some of the main lanes and little back lanes, side lanes. We'll see the university and its botanical gardens. We'll walk along canals, and we'll just show you this town inside and out. Starting in this central part of the city, probably the most attractive and popular place to spend time, where the old Rhine Canal and new Rhine Canal come together. And while you're here, have breakfast.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That looks
Enjoy.
great. What's the name of the restaurant?
Vooraf and toe. We open at 8 o'clock during the week, and in the weekends we open at 7:30.
And you're pretty busy all day?
Yes, all day, yeah.
What's the peak times like?
12 to, at most 2, I would say.
Okay, so
really
for lunch, yeah.
Yes.
When do you
We're
close?
open till 6 or till 6:30. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
So breakfast has arrived. A nice open-faced sandwich with boiled egg on it. Mm-hmm. Also, open-faced sandwich with cheese and a croissant and a coffee, all for €10. Pretty good deal, considering the hotel breakfast was also €10 in a dark breakfast room. So this is much nicer. If you see nothing else in Leiden, be sure to spend some time at this lovely central area. Of course, Leiden is small enough that there's no problem in seeing most of town in a day, with time for shopping and a couple of museums. We'll come back to this lively central area later in the show. On the map of Leiden, you'll see the canals in blue and a yellow circle at the cafe we've been sitting at, and the two Rhine rivers, old and new, coming together at the confluence in the center of town, and lots of other great sights that we'll be taking you to as we walk around the city. Many visitors reach Leiden by train, perhaps coming in from Amsterdam for a day trip. Scenery outside the window will be flat but colorful, with flower farms and pastures and canals. If you can avoid traveling at rush hour, there'll be plenty of room on board the train. Arriving at the station, which is right in the town, just a few minutes walk from the center, you'll find the train system of the Netherlands is truly spectacular. Clean, modern, efficient, frequent service, affordable, so easy to use in a relatively small country, so you can get from one city to the next, usually in a half hour. It figures that as soon as you walk out of the station and take a few steps, you're going to see a windmill. It's an authentic, original survivor that's been turned into a museum, so you can actually go inside, where you'll discover that, like many other windmills, it was a house inside. And they've got the period furnishings at the dining room, the living room, the kitchen. Looks like somebody's still living here, ready to sit down and have a meal. We see some of the working machinery, including the big millstones for grinding the grain. You're able to walk around and explore it from top to bottom. It's a multi-level structure with a steep stepladder that you can take to go to the upper floor. A little more challenging than your typical staircase, but even kids can do it. Upon reaching the top, you're welcome to step outside onto the terrace, where you'll have a close-up view of the sails spinning by and a view looking out over Leiden. You'll learn about life in the mill from their exhibits and videos and from a friendly guide. And was it for grain?
Yes, it was used for milling grain. This was built within the city, that's also why it's so high, to catch the wind above the houses.
Video displays show you how these mills function, grinding the grain with energy supplied by the wind, a technology that we're trying to reinvent in the modern age to produce electricity. The Dutch were way ahead of the times. And in the videos, we also learned there was 3 different kinds of windmill: grinding grain, there was the polder mill, which was for draining the marshy areas to create dry land, and there were sawmills for cutting lumber.
De Valk, Molen de Valk, the falcon means.
Falcon, okay. It's considered the most easily visible windmill in the Netherlands because of its location up on a hill and within the old town. This makes an ideal place to pause for a moment to enjoy one of the prettiest sights in Leiden, located on the busy main single canal around town. Then walk south for a couple blocks to reach the inner harbor called the Beestenmarkt. In the old days, it was the animal market, where sheep and cattle in particular were brought for sale. Now it's the largest plaza in the old town, with a beautiful harbor in the middle that has some tourboat traffic and a popular docking spot for little pleasure boats. And there's fountains around it. There are various hotels and restaurants and shops on all sides of this inner harbor. It's a picturesque spot just 300 meters from the train station. And while you do have that water traffic in the middle, the streets around this plaza are really quite urban. You get the feeling of a downtown city location here, in contrast to the more narrow lanes that we'll be showing you in the old town with the canals and pedestrian atmosphere. Around this harbor, there's a lively feeling of urban vitality and some very good restaurants, such as Bistro Entrecote and Old Leiden. Cars going by and mostly bicycles. That's how people get around here. There are way more bicycles than cars, as usual in the Netherlands. Morning rush hour at this location is a fine place to watch the parade of local bicyclists, students, workers, retirees, all sorts out on their bicycles. When you are walking around, be sure to stay out of the bicycle lanes, as a courtesy to riders and for your own safety. The map shows the route that we've just walked from the train station down to the harbor. Then we'll continue our walking tour right through the heart of the old town, covering the highlights that can easily be seen in a one-day visit that we'll take you through in some detail for the rest of the program. Stepping over 2 blocks to the west side of town to have a look at a beautiful gateway to the old city called Morspoort, part of the medieval fortification protecting town. Something like this interplay between the cat and the dog, with a face-off confrontation, a threatened skirmish, and then scurrying across the bridge, invading the city. In the old days, a guard was stationed at the gate to prevent such things from happening, and you could have been locked up inside that cupola which served as a prison. Now it's all very peaceful with a beautiful terrace restaurant serving lunch and dinner. The wall was not just decorative and beautiful, it really was necessary for defense of the city, especially famously back in 1573 with the siege of Leiden that went on for 1 year, with the Spanish surrounding and attacking the city until finally driven away by Prince William of Orange. Another historic site nearby is the Rembrandt's Bridge, which is at the location where that famous painter was born in 1606, right here in Leiden, and stayed here for most of his first 20 years. In this neighborhood called Vettestig, with that windmill nearby, which is a reconstruction of what may have been similar to his father's windmill. It's called Molen de Put, and this one was built in 1987 as a reminder of times past. It's open to the public, but only on Saturdays. Well, you can walk out on the bridge at any time, and from there you'll have a lovely view looking back at the old Rhine Canal at a wide point forming a small harbor. And now we're shifting over to a walk along the Oude West Canal, which is lined by more of those elegant old buildings, and we'll be getting to one of the important art museums for a brief look at the Museum du Lakenhal, with highlights including some paintings by world-famous Leiden masters, including Rembrandt and Jan Steen. It has visual arts that illustrate the history of Leiden and the various arts industries here. It's recently undergone an expansion with new exhibit halls and a cafeteria. Its building was erected in 1640 as a guild hall for cloth merchants, one of the most important industries of the city back then. It's been an art museum since 1874. We'll cross over the canal on a bridge called Marebrug, and there you can see that building with the red awnings. It used to be the bridge keeper's house. Now it's a restaurant. This brings us into a residential neighborhood with new housing that's built in the old style. Very tastefully done. While it does have limited access for automobiles, you see there's no parking areas on the street. It's mostly for pedestrians and bicycles. Then arriving at a quiet shopping street, Langamara, where you'll find a hotel, some vacation rentals, restaurants, and cafes. On our way to the main pedestrian lane of the city, Haarlemmerstraat. This is Leiden's big shopping street with a broad range of clothing, toys, shoes, jewelry, electronics, sportswear shops, mostly for locals, along with some souvenir stores. And in addition to big brands, you'll find little specialty shops in leather and children's fashions and many cafes along the way. With so many eateries ranging from fast food to Italian and Turkish, this is a great place to have a casual lunch. It's the only major pedestrian lane in town, but you still want to be careful and watch out for the bicycles, bike carts, and roller skaters going by. One of the traditional Dutch elements that you find here is the hofje. This is the traditional housing for senior citizens. You find these garden apartments throughout the country with a history that goes back hundreds of years. This one was founded in 1487 and is named after the saint of the beer industry, Saint Stephen. The map route shows where we've just been walking and where we're heading. We're going across the canal to the Burg. Then we'll continue on to the university neighborhood and back to the center where we opened the program. No matter where you walk, you're always near another beautiful canal. The ornamental gate at the end of this lane is quite special. You'll see a lion on top with a sword in his hand. This leads into the fortress. It's the Burg, the citadel of Leiden, up on a man-made hill overlooking the city. It's certainly worth walking up this staircase to get to the castle. It's an amazing space from which you have a view of Hooglandskerk, one of the most important of town. The citadel is open all day long and into the evening with no admission charge, so you're welcome to enter and walk around and climb up on the ramparts. It's up on an artificial hill called a motte that was created during the late 9th century. The brick walls were added later. It's a typical motte and bailey type construction with the circular fortress on top. It's one of the oldest examples of such castles still in existence in the Netherlands. Originally, it was a defensive fortress situated in a strategic spot where the two arms of the Rhine merged together, also making it a good place from which to inspect the shipping going by. It's a prominent location on the highest point in the old town, and yet it's surprisingly difficult to find it nowadays, with so many 18th century buildings clustered all around it. But keep looking, it's worth discovery because of the fantastic hill, the castle, and the viewpoint. You can see in this dramatic 3D graphic from Google Earth how the Burg seems highly visible up on the hill, but as you're at street level, it kind of disappears, hiding in plain sight. It's located next to the New Rhine Canal that we started the program out at, and now we're just crossing over to the other side, passing through the City Hall with their open terrace courtyard cafe, and coming around to the front side of the City Hall to admire its facade that was designed in the late 16th century and rebuilt after a disastrous fire in 1929. Located along the very busy Breestraat, one of the main shopping and transportation streets of the city, it's limited to bicycles and bus for most of the day, with local and intercity bus routes such as to The Hague you can reach in about 45 minutes, with a generous sidewalk for pedestrians and many shops, restaurants, and cafes, making this probably the busiest street in the city, especially with its proximity to the university where we're going next. In the Middle Ages, this street was already one of the most important residential centers. It remains so today with shops at the ground level and apartments upstairs. The concert hall is an impressive example of neo-Renaissance architecture that is rarely found in the Netherlands. Leiden has had a concert hall for more than 2 centuries. Construction on this one was completed in 1891. Although it does not run alongside any canals, it is still a very attractive street to experience, especially because of the lack of cars. So this is a place for people, with many practical shops and places to eat and drink. Yet perhaps the best attraction are the little lanes that lead away from it, heading over towards the University of Leiden, which bring you into a small town village atmosphere with a somewhat bohemian character. The neighborhood is called Peter's Quarter because it's all around the Church of St. Peter, with many little lanes for pedestrians and lined with shops and cafes. The map route shows our path from the brook over to City Hall and into the Peter's Quarter for a little wander over towards the university. It's only a few small blocks, but if you were lured to meander up and down many of the lanes because of the attractive shops, you'd be walking over a kilometer. You might enjoy browsing around here for a couple of hours. We're talking about the neighborhood between the New Rhine and the Roppenberg Canal. It's a little bit off the beaten track for most tourists who come to Leiden, but there are some historic structures in this area that will bring the visitor in to have a look around. So when you come over, be sure to check out those little alleys. And also the historic sites like Peter's Church, Gravenstein Prison, the Latin School, and a few other sites. But mostly it's the historic overall character of this neighborhood, which is one of the oldest parts of town. Pieterskerk is the namesake of this Peter's Quarter neighborhood, which is also sometimes referred to as the Latin Quarter because of the Latin language used for early schooling in the area. It's believed the city's name Leiden was derived from the Latin word lugdunum, and there is evidence of ancient Roman settlements. Pieterskerk is late Gothic that dates back to 1390, but in the 1970s it was deconsecrated and converted into a museum and event space, sometimes open to the public. Leiden's history goes back a long, long way. People have lived on the banks of the Rhine for millennia. Around the year 1200, the settlement had developed such that the Count of Holland offered city rights to the inhabitants, and the city of Leiden was born. At the end of the 15th century, Leiden was the largest city of the County of Holland, largely thanks to the international cloth-making industry, which was their main trade. And that prosperity is reflected in buildings such as Pieterskerk. You can tell we're getting closer to the university campus with more students out and about on the roads. It's one of those special times of the year when some students are graduating, which means it's time to have a little party. In the Netherlands, they don't all graduate at once as a unified class. It's more like, especially for graduate students, individual graduation ceremonies, and we'll soon see one inside the academic halls. There's a perfectly beautiful outdoor restaurant conveniently located just across the canal from the university. Makes a good place to sit down and enjoy life with your friends and celebrate your new diploma. Crossing the Rappenberg Canal, we are entering the campus of the University of Leiden. It's the oldest college in the country. It was founded in 1575 by Prince William of Orange, who famously gave the people of Leiden a choice after the victory over the Spanish. They could either have a reduction in their taxes or they could have a free university. They chose the university. Right away we see its most impressive building, the Academy building, which dates back to the 1580s. Each faculty department has its own room here, and it's the location of all important ceremonies, especially graduations. The university began in this building, which started out as a chapel of a former Dominican convent, and the nuns left the convent after the Reformation and the building was empty. So the university took it over and expanded it. Now there are 30,000 students. The Hortus Botanicus is part of the University of Leiden, and it's the oldest botanical garden in Western Europe, aside from a couple of gardens in Italy. It was founded in 1590, and it's been accessible to the public from the beginning. You'll find that it's a delightful place to stroll. We had a little chat with a professor who does some research here and also serves as a guide to tell the public about the gardens.
My name is Jan Hengstmengel. I'm a biologist and I'm working here for, more than 20 years now as a guide. So I'm guiding the people through this botanical garden. And our main research object is the family of the orchids. It's a huge one of 35,000 different species. Our collection of living ones is about 6,000.
And also the garden played a role in the tulip phenomenon, I understand.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Flowers became important to the economy, so this garden played a big role in the economy in that way.
Since some centuries, we call the Netherlands the tulip land of the world, and now it is still an important economic factor. I mean, there are hundreds of millions of euros running in this business. And the first Dutch tulips were planted in this garden, eventually creating a big economic boom that's continued to this day. But not many tulips in the garden now. To see them, you want to go out to the fields nearby Keukenhof, the famous tulip field, especially in late April, early May. Here they've got some greenhouses that you can walk into during your visit, and there are several different ethnic gardens like the Chinese herb garden and a Japanese pebble garden for a little Zen meditation. It's a little reminder of how the Dutch were able to set up a very successful trade deal with the Japanese back in 1609. The only Westerners allowed into that closed society. An especially delightful part of the garden is the stretch along the single canal
where you have the lawn and flower beds and almost a picnic ground. It's one of the nicest canal-side environments in the entire city. And you can only see it if you pay the small entry fee or from a canal boat tour, but nicer inside the garden. This view alone makes the entry price worthwhile. While we enjoy some final moments of peace and beauty and tranquility in the garden, let's listen to some thoughts from the mayor of Leiden, who tells us, "The international reputation Leiden enjoys as a city of knowledge is one of monumental renown and a long history. New discoveries are still made in our city every day, at the university, at the Leiden University Medical Center, and at the Bioscience Park, which has developed into one of the world's strongest biomedical science clusters." Leiden boasts many attractive features as a city, rich in cultural heritage, a vast wealth of history in art and science, and a beautiful, vibrant city center where almost everything is within walking distance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and a message forwarded to us by the Leiden Tourist Information Office, a very helpful source of information about visiting Leiden. And now we're walking back to our final destination, to the New Rhine Canal, just 800 meters away, so it's only about a 5-minute walk. We come back to the center of town where the old Rhine and New Rhine canals come together at the Water Square, where you have several cafes with nice views of the canals. And the Valk, which is the old weighing house, and now it's a popular bar. From the mid-17th century, it was a place where merchants came to weigh and trade a variety of goods. We are back in the epicenter of town where the canals come together, the terrace cafes look out at each other, and people are here for a good time. If you only came to Leiden for 2 hours, this is the place you want to come, but you've seen in the program there is so much more of this city to enjoy. It's worth spending 1 or maybe 2 nights. If you're there on a Sunday, the town is pretty quiet, but there is a market going on alongside the main canals. It's a fabric market. Although it's kind of ironic and a little bit sad that Leiden, which had been a major manufacturer of fabrics back in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, doesn't make any fabric any longer. It all is imported from other countries. And that's the way it goes in the modern world. But the fabric market is a popular place to be. If you're there on a Saturday, there's a much bigger market. Typical street market with mostly vegetables, produce, there's clothing, antiques, all sorts of things going on Saturday, and a smaller street market happening on Wednesday. But there's an advantage to being in Leiden when there's no market going on. The town is a little bit less crowded, and so you can enjoy the streets, the lanes, the museums of the town itself without so many people around. No matter when you come, you are going to love this city. We upload a new travel movie every week, so if you want to be informed, please subscribe and click that little alarm bell so you'll be notified. And if you enjoyed the movie, how about a thumbs up? And we always welcome comments down below. Or if you have questions about the destination, make note and we'll answer them. Thanks for watching.